Hi everyone, welcome back to Lavendaire. So it's the beginning of the year and a lot of you are asking me about book recommendations. So today I wanted to compile just a short list of books that I highly recommend you read in 2018. These are all books that have highly impacted my life or changed my life in some positive way. So I'm also gonna share my reading list for this year. It's not the complete reading list, but just like the immediate 5 or 6 books that I'm planning to read next. And I'm gonna include audiobooks as well because that's been like my new favorite thing, listening to books and reading them at the same time. Or, I mean, different books, but you know what I mean. So the first book that I highly recommend you read is a classic. It is this one. It's called The Success Principles by Jack Canfield. Jack Canfield is the co-creator of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the really popular series of books. And yes, it's kind of big. And to be honest, guys, I've only finished like 70% of it. It's on my list to finish this book, but reading most of this book has already changed my life so much. I read this book, I think in 2013 or 2014. This is really the book that helped change my mindset on how to be successful, how to build these new habits, how to build my mind, make my mind stronger that I can be able to persevere in my journey. And just, I don't know, it gives you such good insight on what makes people achievers and what makes people succeed. And it's definitely one to pick up if you're looking to create your dream life, because so much of creating this life that you want and chasing your dreams is mental. So much of it is like stamina. How strong is your mind? How patient can you be? How positive can you be? How optimistic can you be? Like all of those things that are mentioned in this book. The next books I don't have a physical copy of because I read mostly on my iPad using iBooks, and now I use the Kindle app more. So the second book that I'm highly recommending is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. So this is the book that you want to read if you want to learn how to be consistent in life, whether it's consistent with building positive habits or consistent at making YouTube videos or consistent at whatever it is that you want to focus on this year. This book really paints the picture of the power of small actions taken every day, because baby steps taken every day can add up to huge change and a huge difference over a course of like years. So it talks about compounding, which is related to investing, but it also talks about like compounding in terms of like compounding your actions. It's definitely a book that changed my life and set the tone for my work ethic with YouTube and my career. So I've definitely recommended this book before, but I think it's worth mentioning again because it's such a good one. The next book that I recommend is for creatives, anyone who's on a creative journey. It's called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. I feel like this is one of those classic books that all artists should read. The other classic book is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and I recommend that all the time, but I recommended that last year, so I wanted to switch it up and recommend The War of Art. This book is just one that will teach you how to get over resistance. Resistance is a thing that keeps you from doing your work. I've talked about it in my procrastination videos. It's basically what makes you procrastinate and not be as productive, not face the work. It's because of it's fear, basically. So it teaches you what resistance is and how to beat it. The next book that I want to recommend is an audiobook. It's The Power of Vulnerability by Brené Brown. So this is not really like a traditional book. It's more of a series of lectures. I think they're actually live lectures held by Brené Brown. And Brené Brown, she's had the TED Talk also called The Power of Vulnerability, I believe, which is really good. So you should watch that. But this is like a long lecture over multiple days where she just goes really in depth about vulnerability and shame. And it's just one that I found myself listening to and getting so many feels and so many new insights on just emotions and human beings, how we are and how there is power in being vulnerable. So that audiobook inspired me to be more of myself and step forward and open up and be more vulnerable in my everyday life with my family, friends, and on YouTube, because that's how we make genuine human connection, is when we're vulnerable. And if you don't have Audible, then I have a link down below where you can get like a free trial for 30 days. But if you don't want to listen to this audiobook and you're looking for like a physical book to read, then any other book by Brené Brown I would recommend as well. The last book that I want to recommend is a cute one, and it's a quick read. It's the life-changing manga of tidying up. So I've already recommended The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up so many times. I read that book like maybe 2 years ago. So my friend gave this to me as a gift. It's basically like a comic book version, a storyline version of like KonMari coming in to consult this messy woman. And it's a really cute comic. I read this in like 2 nights. So it's a fun refresher if you've read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. If you haven't read that book, then this is like the quick read version of it. I think it teaches you like the basics of the KonMari system. And so if you have any friends who don't really like to read, but you want to like kind of like give them an idea of KonMari, how to tidy, how to declutter, then I would recommend gifting them this book. I've already had like 2 friends who asked to borrow this book, and I might just like buy extra copies for them because I know they won't return it if I give it to them. But anyway, if you've gone through the KonMari journey, then this book is a really great refresher, and it will inspire you to want to like tidy through your things again, because it's been quite some time since I last did like a major tidy. And even though she says you don't have to do it again, I feel like since I'm moving in a couple weeks, I'm gonna be excited to like do it again just as I move into a new space. All right, now I'm gonna share some books that I plan to read this year, and I'm gonna share some audiobooks as well. So my first book that I'm gonna pick up next after I finish reading my current book, which is Girl Code by Carol Alwill Leba. The next book is called Everybody Lies, and this is a book that my brother read and recommended to me because he really loved it. He said there was like a lot of things that blew his mind. So it's a book about data and internet searches and how you can like find out a lot about human behavior and human interest by like seeing what people search on Google. So I'm interested to see like all the random facts and stories in that book. And then the next book that I want to read is one that I was recommended by a friend, Cyrus, at Global Creator Camp. So he's also a YouTuber from France who talks about philosophy. So he recommended the book Sapiens, and this is a book that says it's a brief history of human evolution. So I'm interested in just like, I don't know, learning more about humans, human behavior, like, I don't know, everything related to that. Another book I want to read this year is called The Storyteller's Secrets. And this one is written by someone who wrote another book called Talk Like TED. So his books are about public speaking, how to tell a story. And I want to read that book just so I could learn how to better tell stories, because it affects like my videos and my podcast. So just how to improve my craft in that way. Another book that I'm excited to read this year is Creating Magic, 10 Leadership Strategies from a Life at Disney. I'm not sure if that's the title because the title's pretty long, but it's written by a guy who worked at Disney for like decades, and he teaches like their leadership strategies, how they keep their team motivated, and how Disney has such a positive culture. So I'm looking to learn how to be a better leader, how to lead a team, how to create like a positive culture with Lavendaire and stuff as well. And I have to shout out to Nikki from our mastermind group because she recommended that book to me. And I think this author wrote like a ton of other books related to Disney management. There's one called like Time Management Magic that if I like this Disney book, I might read that one as well. And the last book I'll mention is one that's been on my reading list for like over a year, I'm sure. It's called In the Company of Women by Grace Bonney. I first saw Grace Bonney on an interview on Marie Forleo's channel, which is amazing, by the way. If you guys don't know Marie Forleo, check her out. But I've heard so many great things about this book. It's basically a bunch of interviews with women entrepreneurs. And I don't know, I've heard it's really inspiring. It makes you feel empowered as a woman and a business person. So I'm looking forward to just get inspired by that. I really do think 2018 is like the year of females. If not, like last year, it was already ramping up. But this year is like the year that females are dominating. We have the Time's Up thing going on. We have just, I don't know, girl bosses stepping up, and I feel so powerful. I feel like it's like the best time to be a woman right now. Lastly, I'll share some audiobooks because they're like my new favorite way to consume books. I love listening to audiobooks while I drive. So I'm currently listening to Light is the New Black by Rebecca Campbell. I got recommended this book by my friend Lynette. So I'm loving it. It's definitely very like heady, and it definitely inspires me in terms of like light and consciousness and spirituality and stuff. I think for like a first-time listener, if you're not used to these terms, it might kind of like throw you off, but I don't know, I really like it. Next up on my audiobook list are The Untethered Soul. I have this book downloaded already, so after I'm done with Light is the New Black, I'm going to listen to that one because I've heard so many great things about it. So I'm not sure if it's best to listen to that book or read that book, but I guess I'll find out by listening to it. And then after that, I plan to listen to Judgment Detox, which is Gabrielle Bernstein's new book. So that's what's on my audiobook list so far. I do have a wish list, which like after I'm done with a book, I usually just look through my wish list and see if I want anything or just look at what's new and see if I want to listen to anything new. Definitely let me know if you have recommendations on must read books and must listen audiobooks this year. I'm super excited about like finding new things, learning new things. And as you might be able to tell, like I'm kind of reading books outside of self-help and personal growth because like the books that I recommend related to that, I feel like I read them maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and any newer books, I feel like they don't have as strong of an impact on me as the first books that I read. I think because when you first read these books, you're like mind blown and it's so inspiring and it really changes your life. But after you've implemented things you've learned from those first few books, then any new books you read are kind of like the cherry on top and it doesn't feel as transformational. So that's why I feel like I always recommend older books versus like the newer books that I've read. Not to say that the newer books are not as good. It's just like personally, I felt more like impacted by the early books that I've read. But anyway, I'm just looking to continue expanding my mind in different areas and continue learning for the rest of my life. I love learning. I love just reading about new things, discovering new things. So yes, any recommendations are greatly appreciated, not just in self-help, but in everything else too. All right, have a beautiful day. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I hope you do some reading tonight. All right, bye.